Right, let's see how we round up the show today. We're looking at structures, where it's an exhibition that's now on at the Johannesburg Contemporary Arts Foundation. And it's a collection that explores the beauty and complexity of architectural forms and design, blending artistry with ingenuity. So we had a chat with the curator and we filed the census. Joburg Contemporary Art Foundation is an academic research institute. It's where museums are exhibited. Some of the works, we've also got technological laboratory spaces that are here, and it's really just highly interactive for kids as well. Of course, looking at the role that the foundation has had over the years and how it's contributed to the growth of art in South Africa at large. So we're going to be in conversation with Kaylee Fisher. She's the program's associate. Perhaps to tell us a little bit more and what else we can expect from the foundation. So on that note, Kaylee, welcome and thank you so much for joining us here on the SABC at this hour.
Thank you so much for visiting JCAF, Liesel. It's been lovely taking you around the show. So Structures is the second in our series of exhibitions under the theme World Making, where we're looking at the ways that we all collectively create and imagine the world that we live in through symbolic practices. So within this exhibition, we're thinking about the built environment and the human in relation to that, asking what world are we creating and then who are we building it for? Yeah. So thinking about what will we leave behind and what are the structures that we've created represent for future generations.
Yeah. Some of that has heavy history, some of that also adds to the agency that we're also trying to develop or reclaim, given, what has been taken away and what we choose to remember and forget as well. Tell us a little bit more about some of those unearthings.
So within the exhibition, we're thinking about how we navigate certain spaces and how our relationship to them define what those places will look like over time. So with the installation here behind us by Kada Atia, looking at the city of Gardea, which is a United Nations World Heritage Site, he's asking us to think about what happens when a place is protected, who decides that, and essentially what happens to the people that live there. What is our responsibility to protect our cultural identities and just how fragile that can be as time progresses. Yeah. So within the show, we also have a series of works by David Goldblatt, where he was traveling South Africa extensively, actually photographing the various structures that have defined our political identity and essentially that have been left behind for us to reclaim. So they're asking us to really actively participate in rewriting those dominant narratives and to be excited about that participation, to approach it in a hopeful way rather than always letting that very difficult history impede our progress. Yeah.
I think a big part of this exhibition is the fact that it's also very interactive. It adds a different dimension to how you experience these structures and the work. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about some of the artists and the curators that have also been featured here, why they were chosen, and what's an offer. I do remember there's an exhibition that resembles the favelas in Brazil.
So some of our installations are interactive because we want people to really have an amazing experience, actively participating in rewriting that narrative. So one of them is Eli Oiticica from Brazil, and we have one of his penetrable structures installed in the gallery. So this is really motivating you to climb, to really experience something with a childlike wonder. You're able to touch all of the materials and you get to experience it and kind of relate it to your own experience of maybe traveling and visiting an informal community or friends, and essentially the kinds of materials that we encounter in our day-to-day. That this isn't just an experience that the communities in Brazil share amongst themselves, but that these are universal shared experiences that we can all relate to one another differently through these structures.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's obviously a lot of curators that have been part of this, but talk to some of the behind-the-scenes work, who you've gotten on board to support installing and then perhaps also going to be part of the de-installation process as well.
So our exhibitions are curated by our executive director, Clive Kellner, and it's all based on this research theme that we explore and research, not just over the 3 years that we present the show, but the work starts at least 3 years prior. So essentially we work with researchers to tell us what is the work that is being done within this field, what is world making, and then we work with local artists commissioning new work such as the special projects that you saw during our walkabout, but we also are thinking about conversations that we're having in the global south, that essentially we're all responsible for creating our world together, and that we need to kind of resituate ourselves in how knowledge is being produced and how knowledge is being transferred, placing value back into our local context. So yeah, essentially we love working with local artists, so you'll also always see Johannesburg-based artists in conversation with other artists from the global south, modernists in conversation with contemporary artists. So there's always a very, very beautiful mixed combination of things that you will encounter.
That knowledge sharing and transfer is so important, and it's a proud moment to know that we're tapping back or remembering, indigenous knowledge systems that have carried ancient civilizations as well, and that the youth are being taught about that, because that's something that struck me upon entering. It's just a space where you get to be curious, you get to get out of your mind, you get to not be on your phone, and understand and learn some things, and that's so important for imagination and for growth and innovation, right?
Yes. So a lot of what we're trying to do is also put the learning back into the art experience. So essentially, you leave here having learned something about the artist that you've seen, about their intention, but also it makes you think about things a little bit differently once you leave. So we have a lot of school groups coming to visit us, and the young kids really love being able to write their thoughts in a book about the Constitution Court or Constitution Hill, and they appreciate having themselves kind of have agency within the space to explore, to learn, and to essentially be inspired to do something great.
And I can't wait to then see how they translate that into their own growth as well. And a large part of that is about accessibility and obviously being able to get here. Tell us about, how people get in touch, how they also come here when it's open. How accessible in reality is it to come here?
So we are free to the public. All of our programs are free, our publications. We also host monthly live talks. One of our artists will be visiting with us this week actually to speak about his work. So essentially all our guests have to do is just find some time in their busy schedules, reach out to us if there's a day that you can only attend, and also we have our online booking system on our website, so you're able to visit with friends and you're also able to come by yourself. Our tours are about an hour long, and it's a guided tour experience, so one of our guides takes you around the exhibition and essentially tells you everything that you need to know about what you're seeing.
How long is it running for as well?
So our exhibitions run for a period of 6 months. We only present one exhibition a year, and structures will run until the 15th of November.
Okay. All right, Kaylee, thank you so much for joining us and for being part of the storytelling process, this great remembering. I'm going to leave the conversation there. Well, it's a wrap for us here at the Joburg Contemporary Art Foundation. Of course, where history and innovation and creativity collide in the most unexpected ways, even playful ones at times. And JCAF also just reminds us that art is not just to be seen, but to be heard, to be felt, to be questioned, to be experienced, to be carried with us, and of course also just perceived through different lenses. But we'll leave it there for now. Until next time, it's been an absolute pleasure. For SABC News, I am Liesl Wilson.